What
Looks
is
like it's Facebook.
going on? Facebook? Oh, what did mine say?
What, I'm just looking at what's
Uh,
live.
yeah,
Well, we don't, who cares about Facebook? We'll go.
yeah.
Twitter looks good, so
I don't even have Facebook as an
we'll-
option on there. How weird. Okay, well, what's going on, you guys? Thursday, as I said in various chat groups, we're gonna try and figure out this freaking issue with Riverside. I think hopefully today we got it. We better have it because we got Chad Bareford in the house with us. I know you've been missed, bro, but I am going to get this introduction out of the way. We have so much freaking stuff to talk about, you guys. Holy moly, let's go. For those who have not heard, ThorChain is the world's leading Bitcoin DEX. You can swap 13 different blockchains across 41 different pools without using bridges or wrap tokens. Check it out at swap.thorchain.org, swap.thorchain.org. Anyone in the world can use ThorChain, you guys. There's no account to open, no KYC required, and privacy is a human right. ThorChain has two tokens, Rune and TCY. The fees for swapping on ThorChain are paid in Rune, and that's where the yield comes from. The fees are deducted from swap, so you do not need to own Rune to trade on ThorChain. The Rune token is also deflationary as 5% of fees are burned. 10% of protocol's fees goes to TCY token holders, guys. Remember to stake your TCY tokens in order to collect this yield. Remember, there are no block rewards on ThorChain. The protocol's fees are real money paid by real users. Not many protocols can say that. ThorChain is more than just a DEX, you guys. It is a programmable layer 1 with the ability to create smart contracts and apps. This app layer is being developed by Ruggira. We're definitely going to be talking about Ruggira today. If you need help with ThorChain in general, please, guys, join the ThorChain community Discord and Telegram group. Links for those are on thorchain.org, thorchain.org, and also on thorchain.org, you can join the email list. It's the best way to stay up to date with ThorChain. The only way, I would say. Just kidding. And always remember, guys, this podcast is for information, educational purposes only and does not constitute financial investment or legal advice. The ThorChain community does not endorse or condone illicit activity of any kind whatsoever. Before we get the show started, I just had a personal shout out. I've been trying to reach out to this group. There is an interface. I don't know much about them or really hardly anything. Miradex.io, Miradex.io. They did something very cool. There was an issue with one transaction that went through their interface that sourced ThorChain, and they covered it on the user and then had like some agreement with them to have them just pay them back later. It was just a really nice thing to do. It was super cool. I love seeing that stuff. Miradex, if you're listening, if you want to be on the podcast, just reach out. Patriot Sound on X. I'd love to talk to you. I just really love what you did there. It really made their day, and it was just a super nice thing. But other than that, I'm going to kick it to my main man, Kenton. How you doing, Kenton?
I'm good, man. Thanks. Well, I want to chat more about this Miradex. Do they have ThorChain integrated, or is just
They have I don't know anything about them. Apparently, they source ThorChain, My Protocol, and some other protocols as well.
how
There
do you
was a
spell it?
MIRADEX.io.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
Chad, are you speaking? You're muted,
Oh,
but
I muted you because you're there. We go.
When I go to the site, the Miradex.io, and this is like a false positive, whatever, I do apologize to Miradex. But when I go to it, my MetaMask plugin says this website might be harmful.
Oh shit. Okay.
So you know,
Okay.
in general, when going to any kind of DEX, whether it's Miradex or otherwise, be safe. Don't give me your private key. Blah, blah, blah. Not that Miradex is asking for my private key or anything. I'm not trying to throw shade or anything like this. I'm just saying, MetaMask is giving me a warning about this website, about this domain name, and I just want to convey that now to the community, the information that I have, and take that what you will.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I don't. Yeah,
we should be patient. Yeah, exactly. Be patient, guys, and don't jump to conclusions because we've had the same thing.
Yes.
We keep getting warnings from different platforms coming to ThorChain, thinking ThorChain is a scam site. So I've been trying to fix it. I think we've gotten a lot better. Blockade. There's like two main. Blockade and someone else is like third parties that these sites can implement to do like scam tracking. And we were on like a Blockade blacklist, and I finally got us off of it. And so I think we should be good now. but maybe this Miradex is suffering something similar. Maybe not. But at minimum, I want to try and reach out to these guys because I've not heard of them.
No
And
idea.
we get them on the ecosystem page. We do, like I said, do a podcast. So yeah, I'll try and reach out to them. Yeah, man, I'm good. I'm getting caught up on work, emails, messages. I think anyone who's been waiting to hear from me, I've already got it back to them. I'm not really doing anything new. The DeFi Llama dashboard, I need to spend some time to go over it again. We should be pretty close to it being done. And then once it's done, I'm going to start doing some articles in the DeFi Llama newsletter and start promoting Thorchain and whatnot. And so I've got an agreement with them for the next year, do some marketing with them. And so that is that. The you guys know Jane Butterfly. She's gonna help translate articles into Chinese and get them distributed in China. And so this is like a medium term goal for me is to like expand out of English in the West, right? The DeFi applies to everyone in the world. It's not just our ethnicity, right? And so, and more so for other languages and cultures, right? Because we are included in the current financial system, right? These other languages, other cultures are excluded from our financial system. So I know there can be a smaller dollar audience, but at the same time, we should have higher conversion, right? So this would be the first step foray into that. How do we get Thorchain into other cultures, other languages? And so she's gonna try and help us with that. And that's like PR in general. So this is PR, public relations. And so it's like getting articles out there in the internet. So when people are searching for Thorchain or something about a Bitcoin DEX, crypto DEX, whatever, that we're coming up, and there's an article positive about Thorchain, right? Not FUD. And so, and that's just like it's a shotgun approach. It's not just like one magic article is going to do it. We just have to get a ton of content out there. And so that's what I'm working on with Market Across. And that they told me the same thing. Like we just have to get a bunch of stuff out there. I had a call with them yesterday, kind of about going forward, and I really want to drive home the Monero narrative when that gets going. And Denny, you've been doing a great job of warning the community, everyone. When the Monero pool goes live, there's going to be bugs for sure, right? It's going to start out small, so to do large swaps, blah blah blah, right? So it's going to take time to grow liquidity and stability in the pool. And so it's kind of a trade-off with promoting it. It's like with these journalists, they want to get like new, fresh news. They want to be the first to report it, right? So if we have the pool, it's already live in Thorchain for 2 months, they may not want to talk about it. But if we can go to some and maybe give them the scoop, and like, you want to be the first to announce it, that it's going live. So yeah, I might try and work something like that, because I know none of you guys are gonna stay quiet. Like as soon as the Monero pool goes live on Thorchain, everyone's gonna be talking about it, tweeting about it. So I'm thinking just run with it and try and get as many publications as we can. And so, Chad, this is something maybe me and you or whoever can talk offline about, if we have an actual day when we know it's going to go live. And then maybe too, we use the journalists to kind of help spread the message about, go start slow. Yes, it's technically live, but it's going to take a month or two to bake. Maybe that helps get the message out. So maybe it is a good thing to promote it right away. But at least get people talking about it, knowing about it. I think we all agree this is big news for Thorchain and for crypto. So it should get picked up, right? We should be able to get these journalists to talk about it. So that's the PR front. On the front end, we removed Control Wallet because they're going away, unfortunately. And then Trust Wallet is live now. So if you guys have Trust Wallet, want to play with it, let me know if there's any issues. Still working on Trezor, and so that maybe will be done next week. We'll see. And then we're kind of working on AI.
On that point,
readiness.
by the way, Randy and I met some person at, I was just at a conference in Canada, just got back like a couple hours ago with Randy, and we met somebody there that has close relationships with Trezor people, like the C-suite level. So Randy's got like this person in a Telegram group, whatever, and we're gonna reach out to help the Trezor kind of move along a little bit more.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Like getting a direct integration, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
That's the goal.
Yep. We can talk about your conference. I just have one more quick update. Is just on STO. I don't know if you guys saw Robinhood put out some news the other day that they've made their platform available for AI agents that can somehow like log in, create an account, whatever, and interact with Robinhood. And I sent a post to IBIC and his team. I'm like, can we do this for Thorchain? And he's like, yeah, we're already working on it. So we're close. I'm in the middle of working on it to make basically AI agents be able to interact with STO or just Thorchain directly. And then also too, there's all kinds of like these like AI agent tools. So you can throw in our URL into these platforms, and it'll tell you how good is your site ready for AI. And we've been using these different platforms and these different readings, and we're trying to get ourselves to 100%. We started at 0. And so we had nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, so we have gone up. I think a lot of them were at like, we should at least be over 50%. Some of them are at like 90, 100%. Some of them are at 70%. So we're making progress. But that's, for me, that's like, I want to make sure our website is like totally readable and usable AI. Chad, you threw something at me the other day about the brand asset page having some limitations with AI. I got the guys working on that. So if anyone out there is playing with our websites with AI, and if something's missing or not working or whatever, please let me know. We need to nail this. I think we need to be. We can't dilly-dally. We got to get this stuff done right away. So that's the next kind of short-term here push for STO, is making sure AI can interact with it, and adding a bunch of new wallets.
Yeah.
And that's it for me. Maybe Chad, I guess maybe tell us how the conference went.
Yeah, the conference went pretty well. It was fairly short. It was the Blockchain Futurists Conference in Toronto, Canada. And so Randy and I both went together to, walk around to the booths, meet some people. I did a talk on the main stage, a 10-minute talk. I talked about lessons learned from 7 years in DeFi. So I thought because Thorchain's one of the earlier DeFi protocols, in the industry. Not the earliest, but one of the earlier ones, were OG. And I just learned a lot in the last 7 years maintaining a DeFi protocol, and I just wanted to share some of the things that are underrated, that you need to have in order to be a long-lasting protocol that will last for 7 years, and not just like a year and then bear market comes and then everything dies. So that's probably on YouTube at some point in time. People can watch that if they want to. But we met a few different people, which is great. We'll be following up, and making contact. One guy I actually wanted to introduce you, Kenton. This guy's doing a documentary about Bitcoin, and this guy's like a big Thorchain lover. Like, I met this guy, and he said that like when Thorchain launched, it was like as big as Bitcoin launching. That's his thing that he said to me when I met him. And so he's a big fan of Bitcoin. He's been in it since like 2010 or 2012 or something like this.
Are you talking about Eric Voorhees?
No, not Eric. It's another guy. I don't want to dox his name necessarily, but like, anyways, he's doing like a docu-series, and he wants to include Thorchain in that, and he wants to
awesome.
talk to you from like the marketing side of like how we can work together in this context. And so
Oh yeah.
Randy will introduce you to him and us to him. We'll get all in a room together,
Oh,
the
awesome.
three or four of us, and we'll see what's up there. And to be fair, like I think we should be. If there's a Bitcoin like history docuseries or like whatever, like we are part of the Bitcoin story. I would argue, right? Like we are significant contributors to what's capable in the Bitcoin space, because we work with layer 1 Bitcoin, cross-chain swaps, all that kind of stuff, and we enable Bitcoin to be more than just the L1. But yeah, that's in a nutshell. That's how the conference went. We're great overall. I still have my tag on for some reason. I don't even know why. I gotta cut that off.
You still have the high from the music festival high. You don't.
Yeah.
You got a deeper voice too. Did you get some Canadian funk while you're up there?
Yeah, I did actually. A friend of mine lives in Toronto. He's also like a long time Bitcoiner in the space. Been around for a very, very long. Actually, helped launch Ethereum back in the day, and he lives in Toronto. He has like a wonderful house, and he had like a small little get together, like 7 or 8 people with me and Randy and him and a few other individuals. I like partied with them until like 3 o'clock in the morning, but then I had to go with Randy to the airport at 4 a.m. And so I just like jumped on a flight. I landed. 20 minutes later, I had to get him a call for another meeting, and then I'm in this meeting. So it's like I did an all-night rager last night, and I'm somehow finding the energy to do this. I've been off this thing for so long, for a few weeks now. But I'm finding the energy to stay on this.
I love it, man.
Do
That's
the podcast.
Hilarious.
No rest for the wicked.
No rest for
Right.
the wicked. No, we had a great time. It was lots of fun.
Right on. Well, should we get into it? There's a couple of things I actually want to bring up. One thing
Yep.
I kind of forgot, or maybe bring up, but we've been going back and forth about this Thordex.io site. I don't know who it is, guys, and everyone's asking questions. They're not affiliated with the Thordex, the first Thordex we're familiar with, the IFPS guys that are
Yes.
trying to be host decentralized. We're confident they're friends of Thorchain. We've all been in touch, but this Thordex.io, I don't know who that is. I don't think anybody does.
I'm going to say it's a scam, because they are directly copying Thordex in a way that's direct. Like, especially they had the little header photo. It directly matches their old one. So I think they're just trying to do like a hacky AI copy. I would not use that interface at all at this point until they come forward.
Just because it's a copy doesn't mean it's a scam. Because I think their affiliate fee is 2%. So
I just got red flags.
Well, they could just be copying the name,
They could.
hoping people go to the wrong site. I mean, that's what scams do, right? They'll copy the
Right.
name,
It's
go
a
to the wrong site.
common
right?
scam thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but they could be legit, and they're just like trying to sneakily scalp some fees. But yeah, until, I'm not saying front ends have to dox themselves to us, but at least their social media. If they're not doxed on social media, well, what's your social media profile? We can see you on Twitter and we can talk, or maybe a Telegram. Like I've integrated with tons of pseudonymous people, and so it is a bit of a red flag. We can't get in touch with anyone. So yeah, beware of the Thordex.io guys. Yeah, and if they're listening, reach out to us, please. We have you in the podcast. Like if you're legit and you're honest, demonstrate it. We'd love to, give you a platform and let people know, and then those two teams can fight over the name. That's not our business. So there's that, and then I guess should we get into kind of ADR?
By the way, over fighting over the name, we actually just won a case. Not we, but I think Thor Wallet, more accurately, just won a legal case in Europe for the Thorchain brand name, because there's this like individual who, I perceive to be a patent troll who buys other protocols names and then registers them in Europe and then sits on them, and this kind of thing. But after a multi-year process, we finally won that battle. We actually didn't even do most of the work. All of that heavy lifting was done by what was it called? The Graph, I think it was. Another good project that was targeted for this purpose. We kind of were able to like jump on their heels in a way, and so we actually got our brand name back in Europe. Talk about warring about brands, who owns the name, kind of thing.
Interesting.
Is that my internet or Chad's that's being slow?
I'm fine.
Okay.
I haven't noticed anything yet for you or me.
Maybe my
Yeah.
internet.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then Marcel took care of that patent in Europe. The trademark.
Nice.
Okay, all right, good.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's great.
Well, should we talk about ADR 29? The rev
Sure.
share?
Yeah.
I think we're still.
We're about 50% approval. So we need another. Actually, I think Boone's got a tool for that.
And I know, so Scorch he put in some criticisms in Discord in the group chat, and I replied. But maybe I'll go over it again. So the rev share is basically if you click on a link to Amazon, somebody's website, buy this toaster, and you go to Amazon, they're going to get a kickback from Amazon, right? But you pay the same price, whether you found the toaster on Amazon yourself or you're clicking on that website's link.
Right.
And this is generally how all referral links in the world work. And we basically want to do the same thing for Thorchain. Because as everyone should know, that the only way these wallets interfaces make money is they add a fee on top of Thorchain. And so, and I've been talking to a front end for several months now. It's been a long sales cycle about getting Thorchain integrated. And they don't like the model of adding fees on top. They like the rev share model. That's what they would prefer to use. And so when I ran it by Chad, he's like, okay, let's do it, because this is the integration we're getting. And then in general, it's just, Chad can attest to this, and especially the calls I've been on, all these platforms have slightly different interests and desires, how they want to make money, what their goals are.
Legal boundaries, what they
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
Like, you think, oh, they just want to make money. Well, they do, but how? Some of them they just want the cheapest quote possible. Some just want to focus on stable coins. Some only want a rev share. They don't want to add a fee on top. Like, there's all these nuances to it all. And I think, Chad, what you've been doing great over the last few months now is like taking in all this feedback and like, okay, we can do anything. We tell us what you want and we'll make it a reality, right?
Mhm.
And so the rev share is just another tool in our toolbox to get more volume, to get more integrations, right? More partners. And part of me actually thinks this might actually become our default way to get new partners, new platforms, instead of them adding the fee. Because if I think this is the overall problem with these wallets websites, is that everyone's fees are just way too high compared to Sex's. If we want to get all this volume off Sex's onto Thorchain, we have to compete on price. It's one thing if we're like 20% more expensive, that's fine, but 1,000 times more expensive, it's so hard to compete.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes 5 years down the road, all of our partners are just doing rev share, and then we maybe adjust our min fees to offset it or whatever. But it's really no different than your dynamic fee model, Chad. This is just, at some point we have to pay. We have to give up money somewhere, somehow. This is just another lever, another way to do it.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest risk or criticism or concern should be existing partners and wallets. Are they going to get the rev share? I'm of the position no, at least not yet, because that will just result in just a drop in revenue right off the bat, right, without any commensurate increase in volume. So the the what's the word? The spirit of this new feature was to offer to new partners, new integrations. Now, I'm going to put my foot in my mouth or contradict myself. SwapKit is really interested in this. And I think it really does make sense for SwapKit because the way they're structured is so different than just your average wallet, right? And they're very confident they can actually use it to increase volume.
Right.
And if every other wallet can come to us and give us that same pitch, hey, you'll get more volume from us with the rev share. Okay, let's try it. We'll do it, right? So SwapKit made that pitch to Chad. I think it makes sense. And at minimum, we just try it. Right?
Yeah, it's very low risk, right?
Yeah, like it's not like we're risking losing a hack or anything like that. We got to try things like this. So,
right.
In my mind, this shouldn't be too controversial, but I know some people had some reservations. So yeah, maybe I'll stop there. See, Chad, if you want to add anything to it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's definitely worth the experimentation. I think what matters in some ways is about like how the tool is used amongst the business development part of the team here, and just having clarity, and not just doing it in a dark room somewhere in the back, whatever. But when we want to enable this feature for this new wallet, whatever this wallet is, or partner or whatever. I would like us to see, we as the biz dev side of the team, to kind of tell the community, we want to enable this wallet or this affiliate for 20% or whatever the number is going to be. Here's why we want to do it. Here's our argument of why it's beneficial, and see how it goes. And if we actually end up losing volume or losing fees because of it, then we just undo it. It's like not a big deal. But I do want to be very clear with the community. But we're not just going to apply it to everybody all the time. I think it's a surgical tool in some ways, for when it really makes sense. And it's a way for to put another tool in Batman's belt, aka Randy's belt, to be able to pull in new wallets and integrations, and with the more tools we give him, the more powerful he more or less is, and the easier it is for him to convince these organizations or wallets or whatever to integrate. And so it's about arming him with as much artillery as we can, so that he can do his job as effectively as possible, right? And it was kind of funny because I was talking to him about this, during while we were in Canada together, and it's funny, we're putting pressure on the biz dev side to land new clients and more volume and fees and blah, 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 and all these things. And then at the same time, I'm doing a lot of work to make us just more competitive and just win more, within the SwapKit aggregators or Rango or whatever. And so we're kind of burning the candle at both ends, in a matter of speaking, and we just need one of us to be successful rather than the both of us. It's kind of a funny little thing there.
And well, speaking about the biz dev, just one thing that happened while I was on vacation, we got a whole new partners, affiliates, people signing up to get the API key or the widget. So I think we're at 44 now.
Oh wow!
What?
Now, yeah, but some of them I think are
Whoa.
spam, because I don't know. We gotta hear back from maybe several, 7 or 8 of those are spam. But yeah, because we got that affiliate page going now on STO where people can sign up. We're trying to streamline the process and make it easier. And so that's still a work in progress. But yeah, we got a whole bunch of new signups.
This is for the widget specifically? Am I understanding correctly?
Well, you get both. You get the API and the widget. So whatever you want to
Okay.
do, however you want to integrate ThorChain, right? And so I'm not sure exactly what they want to do. I have had people reach out. They want the API key to test, to play with. And so I don't know what they're building or working on. But no, most of these sites are all existing. They're all functioning platforms. I don't know what their volume's like. So, maybe they're doing $100 a month or whatever, right? But
Whatever.
but what matters is that
100 today, 100 million tomorrow.
exactly.
baby.
And for me, what I take out of it is like people are paying attention. I don't know if they're finding this organically or they've been paying attention to ThorChain for years and now they're signing up, or they just found out about ThorChain 2 weeks ago. Like for me, this is huge because it's like we're not even like I've done zero work on advertising it. Like I've not put anything out, and we've already had 40. I think it's 44.
Yeah.
So like, well, the only advertising is this, on our podcast and whatever on socials, right? But there's been no real like thinking, effort, push, money gone into it. So I think this is a great start, right? And this is great. This is good. So so yeah. So if any affiliates out there listening, yeah, the affiliate page is a way for you to manage your integration with ThorChain. So you sign up, we approve you, that generates your API key, and then and the code for a widget. And you can also put in your Thor name and Maya name and assign the fee you want to charge, and then also manage how you want to be paid out. You don't have to collect Rune on the trades. You can get Bitcoin, Ethereum, Monero when it launches, right? Any tokens that trade on ThorChain, that's what you can get paid out in. And
Stables.
so stables. So that dashboard is there for you to manage all of that and try and make it easy for you. And then there's also a tab with all your earnings. So that was a request from a couple of front ends actually. They wanted to be able to log in, see what all their earnings are, how much money they're actually making off their ThorChain integration. So I expect that interface to continue to evolve as I get more feedback. And so if anybody is already in there and there's things you'd like to see or something doesn't look right, let me know. This interface is for you. So I want to make it as user-friendly for you as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, man, I'm excited for what we can do with that when we start getting it out there, because
Yeah.
it's going to be more, right, Chad? Like, just because a platform has zero volume now, who knows what's going to take off, right? And like, this is the beauty of being an entrepreneur, of starting a business or whatever, right? And like, and this is the beauty of ThorChain.
And it's little cost to us. Like we don't.
Zero cost. Yeah.
Yeah. So it might as well, even if 9 out of 10 of them, collapse or don't go nowhere.
Yeah.
The 10th one goes somewhere. You want to
Yeah.
be there, integrated from day one, and have that partnership relationship early on.
Yeah. Like, that's what I would love to see, thousands of our API keys out there. And someone might be wondering, well, why do we have it gated? Like, why do you have to have an account to get the API key and all that kind of stuff? Shouldn't we be permissionless? Well, one, people can't interact with ThorChain, right? They can integrate directly with ThorChain, do the code themselves, that's fine. This API key is just to make it easy, to streamline the process, right? And if we leave it totally permissionless, we can get spammed, DDoS.
Yeah, you can get rate limited as well. If you're not
Yeah.
using the API key, then enough API queries per minute or whatever, the server's just not going to serve you because
Yeah.
you could be malicious, you could be not malicious. By having an API key, we can give you a little higher quotas or whatever. Yeah. So.
And then the other part of it is, well, we are putting resources into creating it, maintaining it. So the cost of that for the user is your data. But I know everyone at Web3, you're supposed to own your own data, but like, by data I mean we just want your contact info. We want to create a relationship with these people.
Yep.
We want to start a Telegram group chat. Hey, how's it going? So whenever these new requests come through, we have a group chat with me, Randy, and the platform, and just start putting a human touch on it. So that
And by the way, if you don't want to do that because you want to protect your data or whatever, you can run your own infrastructure.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping you from. Then you don't need an API key, and you can hit that server all live long day, with no issue whatsoever. You can run your own infra. That's fine too. There's no gatekeeping here. It's just that if you want to use the free service, we'll help you, but you just got to give us a little something in return, which in this case, a little bit of data.
Yeah. So that's it. Like, we're not tracking anything else. There's no like sign your life away, anything like that. Yeah, because it's still, well, even with AI coming, I think the need for human connection is even more important. and with sales, I don't think that's going to change. So the sooner we can build relationships with all our partners and have that human touch, I think the better, and that'll help us win over time. So yeah, should we jump to ADR 31 or anything else? Wanna go
Yeah,
for Chad?
ADR 31 is one around like just kind of getting or solidifying Ruggiera's relationship with the ThorChain community, and just so that we are aligned, or what is the actual arrangement here. 'Cause I think it's like I think the contract kind of expires or something like this. It's been a year or whatever the thing was. I forget the details. But it's there just to kind of solidify, because there's some individuals who are not big fans of Ruggiera or the app layer in general, which is, everybody has the right to have their own opinion. But to formalize kind of what the relationship should look like or be, helps them know how to plan their roadmap going forward, and what is available to them, what is not available to them, and they can think more clearly about if there is a more direct relationship, in the sense that we're here for them and they're there for us, in a sense. Then they can use a lot of their kind of advanced DeFi protocols or whatever to improve the quality of the base layer, which we can get more details on that probably a little bit later on in the podcast, because that's relating. But yeah, I think it's just a kind of a way to solidify a relationship. I think like 20% of nodes have voted or something like this so far. All have voted option number 1, which is the one that I have also supported. So it seems like it's going in a one direction place. We just need to go through the official processing, make sure we get it to a 2/3 majority, which I'll probably ping the nodes on Monday or something like this to remind them to vote for ADR 29 and ADR 31, just to get those across the finish line.
Yeah. I can speak about this a bit, because I was the annoying guy last year with ADR 20. So as part of me being annoying about it, they put in Ruggiera would get like a 1-year non-compete, which I think expired in May.
Mm.
And at the time, the way I was viewing app layer was like, this should be permissionless, and everyone can come on ThorChain and write smart contracts and go do stuff. And why give Ruggiera a monopoly on app layer when we want a free market? We want everybody coming in, right? And so that was the way I was approaching it back then. And the Ruggiera guys are like, well, we want this permission because we don't want a bunch of crappy smart contracts, a bunch of garbage code, and they don't want to fragment people's attention and fragment liquidity on all these different smart contracts and stuff. And I came around to that understanding, appreciating that view of making it permissioned and keeping it all in house and curating it all, because of STO, because of our front end. I'm like, we need our own front end to promote, right, and to try and get out there, and something that we can control and we can direct people to. And with the app layer, if we're going to have all these sophisticated products and we want to drive people to them, there has to be some quality control on them, right? And why do we want to send people to 5 different perps platforms? Let's just send them to one and just have that working really well. So I get it. That makes sense to me.
And by the way, it's more secure, right? Because if anybody can deploy a smart contract, a malicious person can deploy a smart contract. If there's some sort of bug in the code where you can do a thing you shouldn't be able to do. But if it's just Ruggiera, they're obviously highly aligned. They're not gonna rug the protocol. Like, I'd be surprised if that were to happen or whatever. But not that they even have the ability to do so if they wanted to. But if there was some sort of bug or exploit or something we didn't know about or whatever, then that would make it a much more severe situation. Versus if it's just a Ruggiera, then it's like, well, if there was one, then like we're kind of safe because we know they're highly aligned to the protocol.
Yeah. Like I'm happy with option 1. Keep going forward as is, maintain status quo. But now this just takes me the opposite way, and I think we have to merge. At some point we got to merge Rune and Rugi, because it's not just for like, within the community, people, bickering or whatever. For investors, when we get institutional investors come look at Thorchain, they're going to want to break it all down. And having the Ruji token just makes it such a mess to understand where the flow is going, where does value accrue, and it would just be so much cleaner without it. And again, I've spoken out against that in the past because I'm worried if we do it, the Ruji holder is just going to dump on us, and it's just going to crash the Rune price. So, and somebody's going to have to take. You're never ever going to do a perfectly even, like where both parties come out even. There's always somebody who gets a bit more or less out of the deal, right? And so I don't know how we're going to do it, how it would be structured, whatever, but I do feel like, if we do go down option one, I think at some point we kind of have to mentally accept at some point we're going to have to merge the tokens, because I don't know how it's going to work keeping them separate.
Yeah, I don't know how to merge the tokens. I think that's could be a creative solution to figure out. Like, you effectively have to buy up all their tokens, right? And
Yeah.
they've got like a market cap of, I think it's like 10 million or 15 million or somewhere in between those 2 points. And so, like, all right, where are we going to get the 10 or 15 million required to basically buy up all the tokens, right? And that's like, well, we could do a ADR and mint a bunch of Rune tokens, approximately 10 to 15 million dollars worth of it, and then use that and as a way for Rujira people to sell their tokens into this pool or whatever, and we just acquire all the tokens, and now we acquire the team. It's a complicated thing, because then at that point, like, the Rujira team operates mostly on their own, but if we were to acquire them or whatever, then like I would take their team and I would manage that team probably, right? And help them build their roadmap, and as of right now, they're pretty separate. They do their own thing for the most part, and so it would be hard to actually do that. I kind of feel the same thing about Maya. Like, really, there's a part of me that wants to acquire Maya,
Yeah.
and the biggest reason to do that, in my opinion, is just the talent. Right, the people that have been running Maya for years are knowledgeable in the code base, and their skill sets and experience is actually quite valuable to the protocol, and I would just want to acquire. We already have the talent to some degree. They're already actively working on Thorchain on the daily, but that's the thing of most value. But then it's just a question of like, how do we actually even acquire Maya? Is the Maya community open to this idea? Does Alux think it's a terrible idea, or does he think it's wonderful? I have no idea, but it's hard to do this. Like, to acquire a company in the traditional sense is actually, it's also hard and complicated, but it's relatively easier. And I just don't know what the process would look like to get the money required to acquire another protocol. And are we getting enough value? If we acquire Rujira for $10 million, let's say, hypothetically, are we, is it worth the money? What are we getting out of the deal, right? What's the long-term vision that would get? And that's a discussion we can have as a community.
Yeah, we would definitely have to mint the Rune to buy them out, I think.
Probably. You can't you can't do it with the Treasury. The Treasury is, it's a private fund. It's got limited funds. It doesn't have a token that it can infinitely mint when it wants to, right? Like, it's like it's got to live in the real world, in a matter of speaking. And that's used to pay, developers and ecosystem people, and lots of different things. We can't just be burning through that like it's nothing.
I just thought of something.
Yeah.
If POL gets huge and big, in theory, we could use POL.
Yeah, you could, right? You could do like an LP withdrawal to a module, and then use those funds to buy Rujira tokens.
And we'd be using, let's just keep it simple. So we have Bitcoin, say it's all from the Bitcoin pool. We'd be selling Bitcoin to buy the Ruji or Maya tokens, and the corresponding Rune is paired with it. We could just burn it, and that might well, if we're buying those tokens with Bitcoin, how are we converting them to Rune? Or somehow we're using the Rune that already exists in that pool. How would this?
Yeah, you'd probably have to withdraw, then use the funds to do something. Or you could technically you could give up on some of your like pool shares. Another way of doing it. Transfer
Could
your
I-
pool shares.
Can I'll add a little bit to ADR 31. By the way, guys, I've come to the decision that I definitely support option 1, ADR 31, just like Kenton and Chad. So I know this is a hot button topic. I'm sure people are listening to this, like the merge thing. So if you look at ADR 31, Pragmatic Monkey wrote that up, and I would say Pragmatic Monkey's definitely on the higher like bell curve when it comes to IQ, and he's one of very few people that really understand the intricate design between app layer and base layer. And he spent a lot of time running up ADR 31, right? Enormous amounts of efforts. He did a good job. But even after spending all that time and just how smart this guy is, there are people like Hippocampus and others like, wait a minute, what about the POL? Maybe we should do this or that. There are things that Pragmatic Monkey did not consider despite using enormous amounts of energy to write ADR 31. And this is not a dig on Pragmatic Monkey at all. It just shows you how complicated this is to have a 2-token relationship, and you have essentially an ecosystem share and you have a revenue share. This is wildly complicated to do, right? And because of that, in my opinion, there's always a first principle issue having this. Like, it's fine now because what we're building, I think, is unique. I don't think there's anything in the world that does what we do. But I think just imagine the power if we took these two amazing communities, which I consider the same community. There's people I absolutely love now, like Jambone and Little Monkey and Catman and Pragmatic Monkey and Hans, and even Only Hans, and even Baneth the freaking troll. I love these guys. I think they're great. If you were to merge these communities, how unbelievably powerful that'd be, and how much simpler. All that complexity goes away. All of that weighing between two ecosystems goes away, and we can also rally behind one ecosystem, one token, and just go to the moon. Because we've said this so many times, the code is not what makes a protocol successful, it's the community. And just imagine the mind share and the network effects of everyone coming together to push app layer primitives and base layer stuff. It would just be unbelievable. It'd be unbelievably powerful. So yes, ADR 31 option 1, I am totally for, but this is something worth thinking about. And my personal opinion, I don't mind giving Ruggiera a slight premium in value if it was a merge, or maybe this POL idea, Kenton, you're talking about, maybe there's something there. Or Chad, if you said, I can't remember. But that's why I feel so strongly about the merge. That's your idea. I'm sorry, Kenton. I'm sorry, brother.
Chad has enough of his own. I gotta get one.
So
that's okay. I'll take your idea. It's fine.
Yeah,
I'll take credit.
Yeah. But that's why I feel so strong about this. And for me, like, I want app layer people listening. I understand, like, right now there's an ADR vote going on, and like I can just imagine being a developer, like Pragmatic Monkey or anyone. Like, there's ambiguity there. What's going to happen? Are they going to vote in my favor? How do I make a roadmap? Like, there is tension there. There's stress there, and I don't like that. And so
me neither.
And when ADR 31 gets passed, at some point again, we're going to have a similar conversation in the future, and then this same stress comes again, right? But I'm hoping to reach both communities. Let's think of a way, longer term, medium term, we can come together and solidify this incredible community that we have built collectively. Because what we're destined to do together is truly revolutionary. Believe it, guys. So I'll stop there. I've been talking enough.
No, that's great, Matt. I completely agree with you about communities, us working together. That's why I always thought ThorChain should merge with Maya as well. Like, we should be working together on the same problem, the same thing, right? And I think when you do have, that is a scenario you get 1 + 1 = 3. When you have people, common goals, shared beliefs, working on the same thing together, you do get. I think it is. It's not a linear growth, right? It's exponential. So I totally agree with you, Denny. Like, if we're all working on the same thing, we go a lot further.
There's so many smart people, you guys, like Jambone. Little Bunny tests every primitive on the app layer. I want this guy to test things on STO. I want Jambone to use his skills in other ways too. Like, the value add here is exponential. Exponential. One thing I am completely against is divorce. Under no I am violently against that. This is unbelievable, the power. And I know it's tense at times, guys, but just, we gotta stick together. I truly believe we're meant to do this. So let's fucking do it.
And forgive me, I'm a bit behind on some. No one's talking about ending app layer. are
Well,
they?
no, it's it's a minority
It's
opinion
one of the
right now.
it's one of the options on the list.
it's
I
an
think
option.
Yes.
option
Yeah.
3 or something.
Minority
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah.
But I don't think
like,
anybody's actually really, even the most staunch, anti-Ruji individuals that I can think of, I haven't heard them say
Yeah.
that they should go away or get divorced. Actually, no, I've heard one person say that. Actually, I've heard one person. I'm
Okay.
not going to say who, but
Yeah, I mean, there's
it's a minority opinion for sure.
like to me, like I don't know, like to me, the main in my mind, the only real risk with Ruggiera is just does their token accrue more value than Rune, and we just don't know if that's going to happen until we get moving with things.
It would be.
And-
We've never seen that in any blockchain history, right? Like when you have a token like an ERC20, for example, does it accrue more than Ethereum?
Yeah.
The answer is no.
Yeah.
So and maybe this will be the first. Like I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball.
Nah,
who knows? But like, I think part of the reason why we had a app layer be separate, because you could do the things that they're doing on the app layer without the app layer. They could do it directly into the Go code rather than using this COSM, WASM, Rust, stuff. So they have their own dev cycle that's outside of Thornode's dev cycle, and to merge it into Thornode's dev cycle would be actually kind of a bad thing because we move a lot slower on the Thornode code, because it's a bigger, larger, older code base that needs to move slower. Like Bitcoin moves very slow, as from a development perspective. You kind of have to, right? And so by keeping on the app layer, like on a COSM WASM thing, you're keeping it separate, and they're not tied up with our release cycles and whatnot. But it was also the part of the point was to separate it from the Rune asset, because we didn't want to do, because of ThorFi issues and all this stuff, the Rune token got hit fairly hard because of some bad debt, right? That happened, and by having Ruji be a separate token, if something happens, it happens to Ruji and it doesn't happen to Rune. And we have that. The isolation is what I think we wanted in the initial design or initial concepts of what we wanted within the context of an app layer, is to keep them separate so that people don't feel Rune is getting risky. Rune is the base layer. It's rock fucking solid. It's not doing anything crazy in terms of lending this. It's just a straight up, AMM, right? This kind of thing. And it's nothing doing anything risky whatsoever. It's very kind of solid base, which is what you want for layer one in general. You want Ethereum to be rock solid, right? And then you have this other layer where they're actually experimenting with advanced DeFi protocols like Bitcoin-backed stable coins and perpetuals and limit orders and who knows what else, right? Lots of NFTs, maybe, it could be anything really, right? So there's arguments there that having a separate token is actually very valuable because it separates the risk that they're doing on their side on the advanced DeFi protocols. It isolates it from the base protocol.
Nice. Yeah, I don't see much risk in moving forward as is.
I just want to.
Option one to me seems the fairly obvious choice, in my opinion. But there's nobody. I haven't seen any node votes come in yet that is anything other than one. So it seems like the nodes have, for the ones that have voted so far, it seems like that's the case.
I'm really excited for ADR 31 for sure. Are you guys okay? I have some questions here. I know you're tired, Chad. You've been partying all night. You know what I mean? So, okay, can we do Thorchain stuff real quick? So this is actually a question I got a lot, but someone just asked it, so I'm going to put it on stream here. When smooth sailing, Chad, what do you think of the current situation with Thorchain? Since the hack, it looks like the team has been struggling to make the protocol run well. What needs to be done? So, okay.
Yeah. The Maya team's largely been kind of heading up this stuff and dealing with this kind of fallout, and it's been a rough time on them. Let's give them some credit here. Part of the issue though is that we do a release cycle generally every 6 weeks. We try to target a 6-week release cycle. So when we have when we had all these problems come back up when we got back online after being offline for whatever time it was, we didn't know about some of this fallout, right? And we found it and we fixed it, and we patched it, but it's not deployed to the network yet. We haven't cut 320 yet. it's probably going to be cut today or very soon and start testing on stage and then be released to the network in probably in a week or two. But once that comes out, that should hopefully address a lot of the issues we've been having. Maybe not all of them, but a vast majority, I would suspect, and we should see a significantly smoother after 320 is adopted.
Awesome. Sorry, I was just responding to somebody.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. Okay. 3.20 XMR. Is that coming?
Yes, let me give an update. So there's a lot more time and energy put in by a lot more devs into the whole XMR thing. We kept on finding all these like edge cases of weird behaviors and brokenness, and obviously we're not going to release it knowing that there's brokenness, because why would you? And so we made a lot more changes, a lot more improvements to the quality of that code. 3.20, to the best of my knowledge in this moment, has everything patched that we're aware of that needs to be patched. It still needs to go through another kind of round of like manual testing on like ChainNet or whatever, or StageNet or whatever. So 3.20 has all the things in it. So I think if everything goes smoothly and we don't find any more issues, which we do, but if we don't, then we'll be ready to go live with that fairly soon. We just need to get the churn back on so that we can add new chains like Zcash and XMR.
Yeah. So go ahead,
Dan.
Kendra. That was the question. That was the next question I was going to ask, is when Zcash. Someone didn't want to add that was 2 weeks ago question, but when
Yeah. It's we need to churn in order to add chains, and we've had trouble churning because of this kind of fallout from the mainnet issues or the hack, whatever. And so it's in the way. I actually want to make some change. I've been thinking about this for a while too, of making some changes that we can add new chains without a churn, so that we can not have this hold us up when we want to move forward with XMR or whatever. XMR would be a little bit different in that case because there's a new cryptography that's introduced. You can't just mid between churns just add a cryptography. So that would be a unique case, but the vast majority would not be that unique case, like 99%, and we could just add new chains irrespective of the churn. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while, but it's been kind of lower priority, and I haven't had the time to focus on it, or get the team to focus on it.
Kenton, did you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yes, I just want to clarify. So Zcash will come out in 320. Zcash will go with.
Yeah, Zcash you can do right now. You don't even need 320. The problem with Zcash is that I think we're stuck on the churn, I believe. We haven't churned in a while, I think, right? And as soon as the churn's fixed, which should be probably after 320 is merged, so I guess Zcash is held up by 320 in a different way. But yes, and then once the churn is back up, then we can get Zcash, going, and then and maybe we'll just get Zcash and Monero going at the same time. Who knows?
Yeah.
That would be epic.
What about BitTensor Tau? It was supposed to go live same time as Monero.
Yeah, we've been we only generally work on one chain client at a time as a dev team, just because you only have so many resources and you don't want to divide them. You just make everything go slower in that case. So we've been really focused on Monero. We have the Tau; it's already done. Like a lot of the code's done, it's waiting for review. And I just haven't pushed the developers on the Tau to review it because I wanted them to review the Monero stuff so that we can get the Monero stuff merged, and that's the higher priority out of the two, in my opinion. So once we're done with the Monero stuff, the very next thing is going to be Tau, and we'll get that out, within probably 6 weeks, I'm guessing, after Monero's live.
Awesome.
Very cool. And then, I'm sorry guys, can you help remind me why is the churn paused? Why it's been so long now? I forget.
Yeah, to be honest, I forget too. And like I said, Maya's been heading this up, and I've been focused on other areas of the protocols. So I actually don't even know myself, to be honest with you. I probably should, but I've been leaning on them to figure that out and solve it and get it all settled and things. So I can focus my attention on Monero and rev share and dynamic fee model and other things that I'm business development calls and conferences and other other things that I got going on.
Cool, got it.
Which, by the way, I want to give an update on dynamic feed model. I got some interesting data for the community.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe I saw you put out, Chad, to turn off Symbiosis.
Yes.
What happened there?
So Symbiosis has an issue, and I've created the code change to fix this for them on their code base because it's open source, but they haven't patched it yet. So basically what happens is when they're getting a quote for, let's say, Chainflip versus Thorchain, they do a swap to, for whatever let's do like a Ethereum to BTC, for example. They swap the Ethereum to USDC, like via like Uniswap or something like this, right? And then they send the USDC to Chainflip or to Thorchain, and then the USDC gets swapped to BTC. Now in Chainflip's world, because USDC is just coincidentally the base token of all their pools, they only have to do a single swap from USDC to BTC, and then they're out. For us, Rune is the base asset of all of our pools. It's not USDC. So the USDC comes in and then it swaps to Rune, and then the Rune swaps to Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin goes out to the person. So on the Thorchain sense, there is the Uniswap swap from Ethereum to USDC. It goes to Thorchain, and then Thorchain does a double swap from USDC to Bitcoin. So there's 3 swaps that happen just going from Ethereum to BTC. When all you really need to do is just send the Ethereum directly into Thorchain to skip the whole Uniswap trade entirely and don't pay those fees, whatever those fees are. You're just adding arbitrarily new, more expensive trade that makes no sense, right? And so just send the Ethereum directly into Thorchain, and we do a double swap into Bitcoin, and then you're out. And now it's 2 swaps on the Thorchain side and 2 swaps on the Chainflip side, right? It's now more of an even Steven kind of comparison to some sense, right? So it's kind of a funny thing. So it's not because of that inequality of how Symbiosis is doing their evaluations. It's not a really good testing ground for dynamic feed model, although it kind of is at the same time as well. Like even when we're behind the 8 ball because of a bug in the implementation of how they did their thing, that does dynamic feed still win. even then we have an additional superfluous swap that never even need to happen. An additional can we still win in that scenario? And the answer kind of is yes. Actually, I'll screen share if I can. I'll get some interesting thing to show you guys. Let's see here. So if you look at this is Rake's dashboard. There's an affiliates kind of tab on the. You can see the URL up here if you want to look this up yourself later on your laptop or whatever. But so here's Symbiosis, for example. And so if you look at the last 90 days, and keep in mind we've been offline for a few weeks, and because of the hack and everything. So this data isn't entirely clean necessarily, but it's early, and this is early data. We need a larger sample size to conclude anything conclusively. But in the last 9 days, we've seen about $800,000 in trade volume and 1.6 thousand in earnings. That's according to this dashboard here. We switched to the last 30 days where dynamic feed model was enabled. That was 552,000 and 1.1 of the fees. So in the last 30 days, we've gotten a disproportionate amount of volume and fees, right, in the last 30 days than in the previous 60 days to those 30 days. Does that make sense? If you do it again, by this time you look at Shapeshift, they're about almost 700,000 here and 10,000 in earnings. You go to 30 days, it is 500,000 and 9,000.
Wow.
So in the last 30 days, 90% of the fees generated, right, came in the last 30 days compared to the previous 60 days. Again, we were offline for weeks, and this is not entirely clean data. Like I said, this is early data, so we're not going to conclude anything yet. Requires more testing and more data and whatever. But we'll just take the data as what it's showing for the time being, right? And so we're seeing a huge uptick in the volume, right, in the last 30 days, because we've done out of the 700,000, 500,000, what is it, 515,000. So it's like, a huge percentage is in the last 30 days. And we have those additional revenue. Now, in talking to Shapeshift, they sent me this screenshot of like the amount of revenue or amount of swap volume going to Chainflip and Near and ThorChain. And this is in the month of June, excuse me. This is the month of June. And we were offline for a while, so this 6% number is probably not entirely accurate. But from the conversations I had with the team, like, it's not too far away, right? Like, we were just losing out for a lot of trades against Chainflip and Near. And they're getting, obviously, between the two of them, like 90%-ish, or close to it. Of the total volume, it's just these two guys, and we're just getting the small, like 6% or so, right? And we saw like each of these is getting about 2.5 million, and we're getting like 341,000 in terms of volume right here. In July, which this screenshot was taken in July, which is only 2 weeks of July, not the full month, right? The volume is about the same, right? The volume is about 1 million here. And that's 2 million, a little over 2 million here. So it's about the same. This is only 2 weeks. That's 4 weeks before. Yet now ThorChain is the largest trading for Shapeshift, right? We're barely eking out Chainflip by like a $1.5 or something close to that. And we're doing 33.5. They're doing 33.5, and then Near's doing 20%. But that's a huge shift in a very short period of time from this kind of dreadful situation here to a lot higher, and that aligns to the data that we were just saying about more volume and more fees in the last 30 days. Which, by the way, 30 days ago we were probably offline, so I don't know how many weeks we've been online for. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever the number is. And so we're seeing 4 or 5x in volume. Right, because this is only 2 weeks and this is 4 weeks. It's 350,000 for 4 weeks. You do the math out, it's about 4 or 5x in terms of volume, and the fees are also up as well. Of course, the revenue generation is also up significantly. Back here, it's 2,000 for 4 weeks, and up here it's 4,000 for effectively 2 weeks or 3.
No. You go up there. You're looking at Near.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at You're right. Sorry, 2,000 here, and then 7,000 here in 2 weeks, right? 4 weeks versus 2 weeks, right? So it's like the data is, like I said, this is early, and I don't want to, run around with my party hat on or whatever. But this is, it's promising initial data, right? It's probably a fair way to call it. That we've gone from dreadful last year to the top volume for the exchange, which is, by the way, is kind of the point, right, of the feature in some ways. It's to maximize not so much volume necessarily, but to maximize fee generation. So it's actually doing a pretty darn good job, and we are earning more revenue, and we are earning more volume. It's a net benefit on the protocol, I would say, in this case. I think that's fairly clear from this data that we're seeing, right? Again, it's early data. But there's a problem. Well, there's two problems. One was a problem with the dynamic feature where it wasn't getting turned on correctly, which is fixed in 320, and when it gets rolled out, that'll be fixed. And so we weren't really testing immediately. Once we turned on the feature, we weren't getting the benefits of the feature immediately. It took a little while for some organic trades to happen to flip it on. But here's the problem. I did some analysis mainly between ThorChain and Chainflip about looking at our Bitcoin pool, comparing our Bitcoin pools, right? Specifically, I was looking at how far is the market price from the pool price, right, on Chainflip versus ThorChain. And so I kind of was able to generate a few graphs here to help kind of illustrate the relationship here. And you can see that like there's a lot more swinging, in the Chainflip pool price. It's not as rock solid. It kind of fluctuates. But to give them credit, they're staying closer to the center. You see this little kind of pocket here of just really close to the center there, and they're tighter, but they're also looser at the same time in a weird kind of way. And we don't have these large swings, but we have we're staying within 20 bips or so on average, but we don't get real tight. We stay within 20 bips, we're not getting real tight. And if you scroll a bit further down, you can see like a bell curve here. And you can see like there's lots of 60, 80 bips swings on their Bitcoin pool, but a lot of it is really close to the center, and that's largely because Chainflip uses concentrated liquidity, which is a very effective tool for this. For us, we don't stay close to the center so much, but we stay close to the area, I guess. So the problem here is that because we are more likely to be off the price relative to Chainflip, that can hurt us or help us depending on which direction you're swapping, I suppose. And so we have to reduce our fee even further to make up for the slip that we're not very close to the pool price, the market price. And so we have to go even cheaper, right, in order to get the win, right, in terms of win the bid, so to speak. And obviously that's not, we win the bid, and that's good either way, I suppose. But we want to win the bid and still make the most amount of money possible, right? That would be better, right? So this is a problem that I've been thinking about for a little while now, and I've floated a few different ideas, and I've experimented and did some mathematical simulations. I'm not too happy with the ways that I've thought of so far, but not Chainflip, the Ruji app layer has a design that I think will be helpful for this, which was part of ADR 27, which kind of got like midway canceled, sort of. But once we get the community behind, option one of ADR 31, and they can help us, they can use their DeFi protocols, whatever you want to call our app layer, to get the pool price to really follow more tightly to the market price. And if we do that, then the dynamic fee model is even more effective than it is now, which by the way, we're going from $2,000 in 4 weeks, right? So $500 per week, we'll say that, to $7,000 in 2 weeks, which is like $3,500. That's that's a very that's like a 7x improvement in revenue, or whatever the hell the number is, and we're not even, we still have this kind of lingering problem of the pool prices not being quite as tight as I want it to be relative to our competition here. So that I'm going to push on this to get that to be tighter. That's one of my goals in the next month or two. To get that there, which should make this even more effective and get us even a higher output, a higher yield, in theory, to do that. So I'm kind of excited about that. So, like I said, early stages, but so far the data's coming in. It looks pretty good. The Symbiosis one I'm not so confident about, just because of the bug that we talked about earlier. They're just adding additional swaps, which is it's kind of ruins the data in some way, shape, or form, which is why we disabled it until they can fix the issue. Then we'll go ahead and re-enable it. So once 320 is out, we might be moving on to other affiliates, possibly, maybe, and finding some good affiliates that are good people to work with, who will work closely with us and help us get the data we want to measure the performance of the feature. But but it looks good so far, other than that one bug I mentioned earlier where it just doesn't kickstart correctly. So far the code seems to be operating pretty well. I'm sure maybe there's bugs that are going to come up tomorrow or whatever, but so far it looks really good. I'm actually quite happy with the data as it is now, and we can start rolling out to other people. Maybe SafePal or InstaSwap or LeoDex, who knows? Whatever it is, and we can start seeing a much higher yield, like we're seeing in this particular case, going from $500 to $3,500, per week.
Chad, I want to interrupt you, stop you for a sec. Congratulations, man. This is great.
Yeah.
I know
this is great.
Yeah, dude. Really, I know you want to be modest, not toot your own horn, but I think great job, man. This is awesome. I know this is I don't think you could have asked for a better test run, right? I think it's very clear, very obvious it's working. It's doing what you intended. and you've got the data to make it even better. Like, I think this is awesome, man. Great
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Like I've been excited about dynamic fee since the concept came to my brain. Months ago. We were talking about it months ago. I'm sure you guys remember. And to see it actually manifest the way that I was hoping they would manifest, it's quite effective. And this is like, and Shapeshift is a very small exchange in terms of their volume. They do about $5 million in a month, which is not a crazy amount of money. And so you can imagine we apply this to larger affiliates, I think a good example would be like Edge Wallet would be actually probably a really good use case, right? A Big Ed, Asgard, all these things. We could see a significant increase potentially in revenue. So still going to be slow rolling and all that kind of stuff, but it's quite positive to start with. Hopefully it'll continue down this road.
Well,
Yeah,
the
man.
first iteration, right? I mean, this is the first iteration, and this was experimental, and we're already seeing these positive results, and now you get to dial it in. You know what I mean? There's nothing
Yeah.
that's released, right?
There's
super
already some
cool.
dialing to do, because one of the things I realized as I kind of looked deeper at these, at our competition in a sense, and relative to Shapeshift or Symbiosis or whatever, is that like we don't really tend to win the small and medium trades. When we turned on Symbiosis or even or Shapeshift, we got 0 trades in like 24 hours, like 0, right? Because apparently, but we do very well on the very large trades, like Chainflip and Near. They don't even do trades larger than I think like 20 BTC or something like this. Like there's some limit to it, but we don't have a limit. And so one thing we should be doing is we should maybe have a limit that we don't do dynamic fees if the trade is larger than 100K, I don't know, some number. And then it becomes like 50 bips. Because we're the only, player in town at a certain size, right? And we can charge 50 bips and still, and so when we get these like $32 million trades that come through TorChain, like it did, a few months ago, you get 5x the revenue from a massive trade, tens of millions of dollars.
You're going to make Crypto Actuary very happy. He's been banging that drum for, I want to say, years now. He's been asking for that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, so that's like a new kind of layer to add to the dynamic fee model. Is not just the affiliate and the trading pair. The third kind of like dimension is size. And so do we have a dynamic fee relative to small trades and medium trades and then large trades? And the numbers are different because the competition is different, because Chainflip has a different pricing mechanism on a smaller trade versus a larger trade. They pay more in bips on a larger trade than you do with smaller bips. But for us, streaming swaps, it's the same bips, right? Whether it's a large trade or a small trade, because of how streaming swaps works, it's the fucking same. So we have a different model, but maybe we need to change a little bit to optimize our income, our revenue as a protocol. It generates as much revenue we can for nodes and bond providers.
is that possible then? Doesn't it start getting too complicated, that kind of math?
Yes, it is possible, and yes, it does get complicated.
But you
This
like
is-
complicated math. That gets you lost.
This is like one of the issues that I've always been hesitant around. My hesitation around the dynamic fee model, and I've talked about this in the past, is the how much signal you get versus noise and the data that you're collecting from real market trades, right? There are lots of reasons why you can see more trades or less trades or higher revenues or less revenues, other than the fee that we changed from what was yesterday. And when you separate it onto a third dimension, then you're further fragmenting your data, because each little pool of data that you're collecting is now a third smaller than it was yesterday. Because if you just did it on affiliate alone, it'd be just one giant bucket of data, which is lots of data. And then you do by trading pair, now you've divided that bucket by 6,000 or however many trading pairs that exist on TorChain. So it's probably a fairly large number. And then you add size on top of that. Now you're further so for something like swap for Shapeshift, they don't do enough volume that you could really extract like the sample size gets too small per bucket to be meaningful information or data, and then just becomes more noise than signal, and then you just start operating on effectively bad data, which obviously that doesn't work well for us, in the end. So it might be a thing where we have to do another attribute of total volume, right? And we can get a meaningful amount of data per bucket so that we can actually know that we're heading in the right direction. It can get really complicated really fast, and I remember saying early on that this implementation is kind of the simplest implementation that we can kind of try out the idea and see how effective it is, learn what does well or doesn't work well, and then pivot and tweak and improve as we get more information. But what we're seeing so far, I am happy with. I think it's very positive to go from the third to the top, which wasn't the case before, and that's showing that it's effective. And we're earning a lot more in fees. We're earning more in fees than anybody else. In fact, more than Chainflip and more than Near. I think that's
huge, man.
That's
Hats
bullish.
tip to you. Yeah, great job, Chad. Good for you, man.
Yeah.
You right now, the simple premise is shown super effective. Just right now, just keep mining that, baby. Just go with that thing, and we get more people on this. Holy crap. Wow.
Yeah.
Super exciting, man.
And to bring this back to the rev share conversation and why this is important, because this is being rather effective. But in my opinion, the SwapKit deal that I've proposed, that the SwapKit team has proposed to me and I'm proposing to the community, to use the rev share to change to give dynamic fee model on the aggregator level rather than on the protocol level, is so much more effective than the base layer. It's like you get the real time data, and it's just like it's so much cleaner. And so I expect that this is being effective in the base model. I would expect, just my educated guess, is that if and when we do this for SwapKit, and by the way, SwapKit is not a small amount of volume, it's $34 million right now. So if you can get a 4x, 5x, 7x, whatever, on $34 million in a 30-day period, that's a substantial amount of revenue, right? Very significant.
Chad, can you go back to your Shapeshift?
You have the June or the July?
Yeah. Okay. So we were at 33.5% share on that month. What are we on before we started? What's the other month? 6.1.
Yeah.
So divided by 6.1, so 5.5x. We increased.
Yeah.
Our share.
Keep in mind, Thorchain was down for a few weeks. So
yeah.
The data is not entirely clean. Like, I'm being clear about that.
Yeah.
And this is early data, like I mentioned before, and we need to have a larger sample size to actually really conclude anything. But the initial data this is what this is showing.
Yeah, but just thumb sucking. We could see the SwapKit volume 5x. That's not
potentially. Yeah, I mean, it's more complicated than that in a positive way, because the way that they're implementing this is that they don't make more money from trades that happen. They make more money from just having more trades. So they're using it not for us to be competitive against necessarily Chainflip or Near within their own aggregator thing. They're trying to use it to get more volume from the other providers that are not SwapKit, that are side by side, within Ledger, for example. Like, Ledger's probably got dozens of swap providers, and they got Uniswap, they got 1inch, they got maybe Rango or something. I'm making things up, but I'm sure they got probably dozens. And they just want to, and maybe right now SwapKit's getting 15% of their volume. I'm making up numbers right now. They want that to be 30%, right, or 70% or something like this. And this feature, allows their prices to come down because of this dynamic fee model, and to be more competitive. So instead of getting 15% of Ledger's volume, they're going to get 60% or something significantly larger. Well, that's the hope, at least, right? And so with that, when they get that extra volume, guess who it comes to? It's not Chainflip, and it's not Near. I'll let you guess who it is, right? So we get all of that volume, but when they expand to a much larger percentage of Ledger, we get that volume, and SwapKit sends that shit to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna ask you that. So it won't. So I understand it'll make SwapKit more competitive. Then when SwapKit wins the quote, are they going to purposely send it to ThorChain so they continue?
They have to
rev
send.
share?
They win the quote with ThorChain. They can't
Oh,
win the
they're
quote.
Oh.
Yeah, see?
They're estimating what the rev share is going to be, provide that quote, win it, and then they use the rev share to make. Got it.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes, my assumption, and I don't know this for a fact, but my assumption is they take out 7 bips in the trade, right? But they can not take out 7 bips in the trade, take out 1 bip, and then make up the other 6 bips by what they get in the rev share, right? So they make the same amount of money, but
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
quote is much lower in price or a better execution.
Yeah.
And when they win that trade, SwapKit wins the trade against the other competitors, whomever that is.
Yeah.
They have to send the volume to us and not to Chainflip and not to Near.
Yeah.
And so they get an explosion of volume themselves, which obviously they're big fans of. They love it. And then we inherently get all that explosion as well, and we get all the revenue. And were we giving up for that additional volume revenue? It is whatever the rev share is. It's 10%, 20%, 30%, whatever the number is going to be. You
Yeah.
know, 50%. I don't know what the number is going to be. Like, I don't think anybody really knows. We're probably just going to start small and, you know, see how it goes and monitor it for a little bit. And if it goes well, increase the number to a higher number, and see if it's linearly grows. Like the higher you go, it grows linearly or exponentially, or it doesn't grow at all. And it actually was better to leave it at 10% before. Like, who knows? We don't know the answer to these questions. It's all about running the experimentation, collecting the real world, you know, data, and then making informed and educated decisions.
Yeah. So this is for rev share on SwapKit. Would dynamic fees make sense on SwapKit? Like, should we, you know, to try and win that? So let's just say that
Yeah.
50% of volume that SwapKit's getting, that they are now splitting between us and Near and Chain, whoever. If we want to try and go after that, would we be able to use dynamic fees for that?
I don't think I would turn it on because of this deal that we're trying to strike with them.
Yeah.
I don't think it makes sense to do dynamic fees on top of dynamic fees. Maybe it does, and maybe I'll think about it more, and maybe I'll decide that, you know, in my opinion, that is the right way to do it. But probably the smarter thing to do right now is just do one thing at a time and not monkey up your data by having too many variables changing at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
And so let's just start with get the rev share thing approved from the community, where we got, I think, like 20 more votes that are required to get the approval. I don't think we've had any no's yet. Everybody's a yes. Get that done. So if you're a node operator, please vote and get that done so we can move forward. I think I spoke to Oleg earlier this week. I think they're ready, like probably next week, to flip this on, like within their system. So they're pretty close. So, you know, we gotta get the vote done on our side. They have to finish the code on their side, which is fairly close by, and then we could flip it on, set it at like maybe 10-20% rev share. And you know, see what the hell happens, and maybe we will do. It does what it does, and maybe we'll turn on our dynamic fee on top of this thing and see how that affects the outcome, right, of the whole thing, right? Maybe that's the way to do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But probably starting just the rev share by itself, you know, or we could turn on dynamic fees for, like, I think Trust Wallet, because I don't think they're going to use this. They're going to use it for Ledger, but they're not going to use it for Trust Wallet because of some complications of the relationship with Trust Wallet. It's like a kind of a unique beast, you know, the way that the agreement works between the two of them. They can't really do this the way they want to do this for that particular wallet for some reason. I don't fully understand the details. So maybe on that particular wallet of SwapKit, we can turn dynamic fee model on in that case.
Yeah. Oh, shoot, what was I gonna say? The
I have questions.
Go ahead, Danny. Go ahead.
I have questions. So, okay, I don't mean to change the subject, but I do have a question specifically from Oleg on the SwapKit. This was about 2 weeks ago. He was wondering about the Tron.USDT pool, and he was wondering if we could transfer some liquidity in there to deepen it, so they have better price execution on SwapKit side. I think it was more or less Boone's Treasury LP rearrangement or something like that. So could you speak about that, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious what it's at now. Pools.
Tron's been on fire from what I understand.
Tron UST is like about 100 grand. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it comes down to this. So another change that was made, a patch was made in 3.20 to make the POL system income
Right.
thing an operational in the year. So once 3.20 is live, we can have a node vote to turn on to, like, I think we were talking 10% or 30% or whatever the number might be, and just get nodes to start voting what that number is. That'll start generating revenue or for the POL and start deploying. And I don't know offhand if it will do. I know it'll do TRX because I think that's the gas asset. I don't know offhand if it'll do the UST pool or not. I have to look at that more closely. I think there's a whitelist Mimir that you can vote to enable it for this. So if it's not enabled by default, we can enable it via operational Mimir. That's already in the code now. And so once that happens, that will start deploying revenue. So I think two birds, one stone. Let's roll. We get after 320 is out. Let's go ahead and enable the system income goes to the POL, and we start deploying income into the pools. And that will probably be Tron UST, and it'll probably be Solana. It'll probably be the newer pools most likely.
Okay, perfect. I got another question. This is, I think, from 3 weeks ago, but they still wanted to answer it. They want to know how rapid swaps are doing. Is it time to now increase it to go up to 4 interest swaps, if you know what I mean, interblock swaps, if that makes sense? Or
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I've been thinking about this the last week or so. It kind of fell off the radar because of all the kind of craziness was going on. It kind of became lowish priority for a little while. But yeah, I think we're ready to go to 3, maybe 5, 3 to 5, somewhere in that range. Probably 3 first, just to kind of keep our eye on things, make sure it still works good, and then works well rather, and then probably move it to 5 or something like this. But yeah, I think we're about ready to do that. I probably will do that this week or next week, and get a few nodes to vote to flip it onto 3 for a little while to see if that still works effectively. Because 2 has been working just fine, from what I can tell. I haven't seen any issues. I don't think I've heard any complaints. So I think it's working just great. Let's ramp it up to 3 and leave that for a while, for a couple weeks, and then ramp up to 4 or 5, and just kind of keep on going up until we notice some sort of issue or something not quite working the way we want it to work or whatever.
Cool. I think people will be really happy about that. Okay, someone asked, is Batman Randy? Randy is our lead in BD. Randy is Batman, yes. Another question asked...
Which Batman? Christian Bale Batman or Adam West?
Adam West.
Or Michael Keaton, George Clooney, Val Kilmer.
all the Batmans, like...
Richard
Pattinson.
What's his name?
Who?
What's his name? Patterson? What's his,
Robert Pattinson.
Robert Patterson, yeah.
There's a rumor that it's going to be, what's the guy, Richter or something? Rick. He had a show on Prime where he was like this kind of army sergeant who's fighting.
Oh, the big guy, Reacher.
The big guy, Reacher guy,
yeah.
yes.
He's huge.
He's massive. Dude, that's a massive dude right there.
Yeah.
And supposedly, like, there's been talks. He's been talking with Tim Gunn about being, the Batman, and Tim Gunn's, he's got the cornflower was the guy's name.
Yeah.
Corn, whatever his name is. Corn Feather, whatever the guy who plays Superman. So he's talking about Reacher possibly being the Bat, which is an interesting choice. It's an interesting choice.
The one thing I liked about Justice League when Batman was fighting Superman is Batman was taller than Superman. I thought that was a really interesting, clever thing they did. A lot of people crap on Justice League. I liked it. I thought it was great. I've watched the extended version. I enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
The newer version's better. They came up with a director's cut. I think it's like, what's it called? Something cut. I can't remember the name of it. It's like all in black and white or something like this.
Yeah.
That film is so much better than the original, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's still not like a great film or anything, but it's definitely better than the original cut of the film.
It was enjoyable, and I actually like Ben Affleck as Batman because he's big. He's got big shoulders. He's a big guy. Right?
He bulked up for the role for sure.
Yeah, that to me that's Batman's a big guy, and so
Yeah.
that's would be cool to see this Richardson guy because like he is naturally huge.
He's
Like
gigantic. He's like
Yeah.
6'8" or something, and he's like
Yeah.
280. You know,
Yeah.
sheer
Yeah.
muscle mass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Anyways,
Justice League, come on, man! That when Batman's fighting Superman, he tells Superman, "No, "You're not brave. Men are brave." I love that line
yeah.
because if you're invincible, you can't be brave. Only when you are invincible can you be brave because you can be hurt, right? And I'm like, I really like that. That was
Well, that's always that's always the case in these films where Superman is like, he's choking on some kryptonite and he becomes a man and he shows his bravery.
Yeah.
And his chutzpah, if I can borrow a Jewish term, to prevail.
There you go. So we have some more questions, you guys. Someone wants to ask. This was answered by the. There's a number of hacks and DeFi increased significantly this year. Please tell me if there are any protection mechanisms for restrictions or transferring these funds through ThorChain. I'll take this one just to make it quick. Interfaces can have their own, whitelist and censor and do whatever they want, but the base layer itself, the base protocol, cannot censor by design. It is 100% permissionless, and that is a very important design consideration. Someone
And I
asked
think
us before.
Max
Go ahead.
he answered it brilliantly too.
Yes.
ThorChain
Yes.
is permissionless. It's like asking Bitcoin to stop hacked Bitcoins from moving. Like,
Yeah.
Well said.
Sorry. Go ahead, Danny.
No, you're totally good. Someone asked this before, and I want to make sure it gets answered. This isn't ThorChain, but what is necessary hardware to build Voltisig Secure Vault and use Voltisig as WAAS? I don't know what the acronym means.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the acronym either, to be honest with you.
Wallet as a service.
Maybe wallet as a service, possibly. Yeah, so the question is like, what kind of hardware we need? It's not much, to be honest with you. To be able to run, Voltisig works off of a GT20 implementation, I believe, or maybe it's DKLS now. I can't remember. But just to do signatures and this kind of thing, it's not very much computational power or disk space or anything for that matter. It's fairly cheap.
Another question. This is from prior. I think this is from this week. Someone wanted to know what your opinion was on Devil's base limit orders. I think that's what BLO stand for, and combining that, also synergizing that with dynamic fees. They think that we might be able to even obliterate the competition even further.
Yeah, I've spent some time, I think it was last week, or maybe the week before, I can't remember, but I spent some time digging deeper into his proposal and doing some kind of research and kind of a little bit of modeling, not much, but a little bit. And the way it was, there's some things about it that I really dislike. Not that it can't be addressed or changed or improved or anything, but and I've already spoken to Devil about these things a little bit in the Discord chat. But for one, like, I think he had set it up so that this kind of limit order was like first to be executed, and then the AMM second, and then cancellations third, or something like this. And that effectively means that the AMM becomes secondary, right? Like the limit order becomes the number one kind of thing on the protocol. It has the first priority, and I'm not sure how I really feel about that, right? I'm not sure I'm really willing to kind of like throw the AMMs into the background. And so I'm a little concerned about that. I think, but he seemed pretty amenable to changing the order.
What's your concern? Why would be wrong with that?
Well, for us, it's untested code in its implementation, and also in its value that it proposes for the protocol. It's localized just to trade assets, in the design that's been proposed. So it wouldn't be like most of the volume would probably still happen, on the AMM. But if you're going to be first, then that arbitrage opportunity is operating differently outside of the pools, which means the swap queue, which is what we use right now to protect us against MEV attacks, is no longer protecting us, right? Because if I am the validator, and like this is like the thing, not to throw too much shade at Devil here, but like, we have to be. I prefer transparency, and like people kind of call things out, but like Devil, I believe, is an operator, a node operator, and also an arbitrage bot. And and his interests are aligned to himself, as anybody would, right? And this feature does very well to line his pockets, and anybody who like him. to make more money out of the protocol, in a sense, at the cost of somebody else. And so if he's running a node and he's gets to order which things come first or second, in terms of that, he could theoretically, use some MEV to prioritize himself and extract some value that kind of way. And so that's got to be a concern in some ways about that, right? And
why would an individual node operator or individual node be able to change the order of the trades?
Because this is the same thing in like Ethereum land or even Bitcoin land, is that you have in any given block that's being, created, there's always a block proposer, somebody who is selected to be the validator or the miner that's going to produce the block, and they get to decide what's in the block and what's not in the block, and what order all the things happen within the block, because they just have a block and they have a bunch of transactions, and they get to order what order the transactions land in the block, right? And this is true for Ethereum, this is true for Bitcoin, and this is why it's so easy to sandwich attack, on Ethereum, because somebody's making some innocent trade, like a random organic trader, and me as, a malicious, miner, can sandwich attack that. So I make a big trade in the opposite direction, then I put their trade through, then I put my trade through on the other direction, right? And I sandwich their swap, and I give them a shittier trade. They end up just paying a lot more in fees, and I extract that value out as an individual because I was able to do that. That's what we call MEV. And it's so funny to me because when MEV first came out years ago, everybody was like, this is terrible, like miners are attacking swappers, and and then after a couple of years, the industry's just like, well, there's not really a solution to this problem, so we're just gonna like rephrase it and just like, we're gonna give everybody access to these. We're just gonna create MEV tools for everybody, and now everybody can MEV, and it's just, now MEV's a good thing. It's just like funny to me, the marketing spin they've had to throw on, because it was an absolute fucking nightmare, and they just pretended that it's not a nightmare anymore for some fucking weird reason. I just found it like hysterically funny. And so we don't have that thing, because even if you order the swaps in a certain order, right, and the block proposal, that's not the order of how they're actually swapped. The code determines what the order of the actual swap, and that's why we don't really have MEV in Thorchain. The only way you can do MEV in Thorchain is to just not include a certain trade into the block. You can choose to, I don't like Kenton's trade, I'm just gonna like intentionally leave it out of the block and leave it for the next proposer to add it. That's the only form of MEV that you can really do on Thorchain, to my understanding or knowledge, and that's not a big deal for the most part. For the most part, that's not a big deal.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I don't know if you got a chance. Devel joined Thursday last week, and he had like a screen share, and he broke it all down. I actually didn't even think about the MEV thing. That is very interesting. I don't know. I actually really glad you brought that up, Chad, because I would really like to hear his opinion on this. And I'm glad to hear that you said he's amenable to like modifying something. But
yeah, but he would say on the MEV thing is that there's an order being put in to how the orders are done through price and time currently in the current proposal. So it's the best price first, and then if me and Denny have trades at the same price, it is time, meaning the older, the younger block, or gets priority over the newer block, right, in a sense. And so that's his initial proposal. I tried to convince him about putting a tip in instead of a time, right? That similar to Bitcoin, when you do a Bitcoin transaction, you basically are tipping the miner, right? You're giving a little tip, and the bigger tips win over the smaller tips for obvious reasons, right? And so it just by doing it tip-wise, you just are ensuring the protocol is getting a better outcome in terms of revenue generation, and because you're in a scenario where he's got a very powerful tool that allows him to extract more value at the cost of the LPs, which is a very real possibility in the scenario. At least then there's competition to put the revenue back into the LPs because of the tip. You know, I'm still thinking about it. I want to get more devs involved with this proposal and get their eyes
Sure.
and thoughts, and especially over at the app layer, because they do a lot more kind of like they're more steeped in math of things and whatnot, and understand this stuff pretty well. So I'd be interested to get their ideas and feedback. I know I've already heard from them a little bit, and they expressed some concerns about performance, because the way that the proposal is currently, it would probably cause the block times to go slower, depending upon how many orders there are in the order book. If there's no orders, then there's obviously no problem. If there's lots of orders, there's probably a much larger issue. So there's probably some design changes around that as well. But I do want to get more eyes on it, And I'm not
Sure.
done, doing my own personal due diligence though. But overall, I have a little hesitation, because it kind of feels like members of the community proposing something that's not necessarily the best interest of the protocol, but for themselves, because this would not fix the problem that the little chart I had, the bell curve chart I was talking about earlier about fixing the pool price, wouldn't really help in the circumstance, not really. And what this really does for value is that it allows you to swap. I know Devel or whatever how you say it is, like you're showing those little jig-jag charts that you're showing, which is like a benefit. That's nice, but it's not a game changer. It's not something that's really. And this feature is an entire limit order. Might lose my audio or something?
I can hear you. You're fine. You're good for me.
Oh, I think we just lost Denny actually.
I think it's Denny.
Yeah.
But you can keep going.
It is a very it is a big feature, right? It's not a small bit of code, and you have to do analysis of, is the ROI there? Like, how much is ThorChain really going to get out of this? It is some amount, right? And is the complexity of this feature actually worth the risks that come into it? And that's to be determined in a sense. But like I said, I'm still doing my own due diligence on it. I'm not done, diving through it, and I want to spend some more time like modeling out.
I understand. Yeah, and just initial thoughts and understanding, and so we'll table this because it's really an in-depth conversation, and it makes sense. I mean, I'm glad you're thinking about it in a very technical way, just to make sure there's no.
Yeah.
Because I understand.
That is, in some ways, that is my job. In some ways, is like I represent the protocol to the best of my ability. I am highly aligned to the outcomes of the protocol. I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't make more money or less money because of this feature gets added or not added or whatever. It doesn't matter to me in that kind of context. I'm just thinking like what makes the best sense for the protocol, not necessarily what makes the best sense for a few individuals.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense. Let me see here. Someone asked, is Voltisig able to sign for native swaps? Yes, the answer is yes.
I think this guy, we are not Voltisig.
I know.
That is a completely, what's his name? It's the same guy, right? Go to the Voltisig social media, Discord. Go ask them about. JP Thor co-founded ThorChain with Chad. And he's on hiatus from ThorChain right now. And then he started Voltisig as a separate project. So we're friends, there's crossover in the community, but Voltisig is completely separate from ThorChain. It's no different than Trust Wallet or MetaMask. So if you've got Voltisig questions, please bring it up in their community.
Go to the ThorChain Telegram if you're part there, and if you don't know what the link is, we'll share it with you there. Just state it, and we'll get to all the information you need, because Kenton is right. This is more ThorChain specific for sure. Okay. Nightwatch says there might be a Mimir, so we could switch off the BOL thing. Okay, we'll table that conversation another time. Do you got anything else, Chad? Anything else that you're thinking about? I know we're coming on 2 hours here. I know you're tired from partying, as you should, because of the success of RepShare, baby. What else you got?
There are a lot of ADRs that are like pending, by the way. I haven't really decided the order quite yet, but that's an ongoing issue, and getting these things kind of passed through. There's a bunch of
we got to finish the ADR 27 is the WASM fee.
Yes.
We got to finish that after 31, and then ADR 30 Andy from Liquify put that out about having node operators be able to delegate responsibilities. There's been zero pushback on that. I think we should just push that through. Like, are you talking about adding like ADR 32, 33, 34?
Yeah,
Or just
there's
ones we
there's
haven't-
31 and there's 30, and after that there's like 4 more that are,
Oh, man.
or maybe 5 more. That are
Let's clean
waiting
up
to-
the existing ones.
Yeah. No, I at the same time I have people, poking me and say, when am I going to get my ADR voted on? And it's always, I always feel
Well,
like it's between a
then
rock and a
those
hard
people
place.
should get out and get in the community, get everyone to vote the current ADRs. If
Yeah.
you want your new ADR out there, get the current ones done, guys. Help us promote it. Help motivate nodes to do something about it. We can't have. Everyone has great ideas. We all want to get things done. We all want to see Thorchain succeed. But if we've got 15 things go unfinished, adding 5 more just makes it all take longer. So we got to kind of stop and just get things done, right? Eat the food on our plate. So if anyone's bugging about, I'm gonna push back. No more ADRs, Chad. We gotta sort out our existing ones.
Yeah.
Get those all done. It doesn't mean they'll have to be approved. They can be denied. That's fine.
Yeah,
guys.
right.
Those are against it. You're against it. Don't vote no. But at least we have to come to a consensus on. Or at least we need 2/3 of nodes or the majority of nodes to vote and decide what is the fate of this ADR,
Yeah.
and finish that. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, very good. I'm gonna check here to make sure if I have any other questions. I think that pretty much gets me back up. Yeah, that was Zcash. It was another Zcash question. We already addressed that. Oh, someone wants to know. I think we've answered questions like this in the past, but your thoughts, Chad, on increasing the cap of bonded rune to 2 million? Do you think that's?
Oh.
What is that, Denny? What's that? Can you ask the question more?
So, right now there's a limitation on the amount of bonded rune before there's like no yield, right, that you earn. So it's about, was it $1 million or something?
Oh, the max efficient cap.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah. So
A
what if
max
you?
efficient bond.
Thank you.
Right.
What if
Yeah.
that was 2 million? Does that make sense? Should we do that? That's kind of the spirit of the question.
Yeah, it's more interesting than it sounds. That number is not a configuration. It is a computation, and that number is defined by how much bond does the 68th node have. If you do like the lowest node to highest node, or you could do the other way around and say like the 1/3 down from the top, what is that bond? And it's like approximately 1 million rune, right? The reason why we have it there at all is because we wanted to make sure that each node, more or less, reasonably so, has an equal amount of rune that they're bonding, so that every vault is more or less the same size. You don't want one vault that has like a lot of liquidity, another vault has like a little bit of liquidity. Then you have an imbalance because the TSS signing would, 80% have to happen here and 20% happen over here, whatever, and it wouldn't be as efficient. You want to spread out your signing, all the vaults, as smoothly as possible, so that you have the maximum efficiency and output that you can do. So there's a whole reason behind why we have this number.
Sounds like something we shouldn't touch because it's not broken.
Well, it's not. It's
Right?
not. But here's where it gets a little bit interesting. Is that hypothetically, say we move to like DKLS, and we move off of multi-Asgard into a mono-Asgard system. Just hypothetically speaking, I know there's been discussion of why we don't want to do that, but just put that aside, just for the sake of a
Sure.
mental experience. So, if that's the case, then it doesn't matter anymore. The whole thing I was arguing about equal bonds doesn't matter because it's all one volt, right? So doesn't really, who cares? So at that point, you can more or less get rid of that cap at all and just pay relative to how much bond you have, and it'd be unlimited, right? Another thing was, in a kind of similar vein, was and JP's always been against this, but I've always been for it. We've never saw eye to eye on this particular topic. But as a multi-node operator, when you observe a Bitcoin transaction, say you run like 5 nodes, all 5 of your nodes make the same observation. Instead of having 5 nodes each making the same observation and then replicating it to the chain or whatever, it's much more computationally heavy, 5 times more heavier in a sense, right? For the nodes to support more Bifrost and stuff like this. And so that would make it even easier so that you could have multiple nodes and just be more efficient. Or we get to the place where you just have one node, right? And you have one node and it has 5 million in bond instead of 5 nodes with 1 million in bond, right? So if we get to a place where we do go monovault, then we can kind of rethink a lot of the security standards of Thorchain and remove a lot, because a lot of it comes from the complexity of Yggdrasil back in the day and other things. We had like some kind of complexities we had to deal with. So if we move to Thorchain to a simpler design, we can remove some of the security kind of decisions because they're no longer applicable. And this being potentially one of those things,
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah, interesting conversation for sure. And that, again, depends on whether or not we even do that. But I'm really glad you said that. That's definitely thought-provoking for sure.
Yeah.
I know we're coming on 2 hours, guys. I know, Chad, you're probably tired. I would be if I did what you did. Do you have anything else? Maybe Kenton, boys? I'm out of questions, I think.
No, that's good, man. I'm good. It's been great to see you guys again.
Dude,
Glad we're back in battle.
great.
The boys are back
See you
again.
Chad. Yeah. Boys are back in town.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't sing. Yeah, and hey, good job again on the dynamic feed.
Yeah.
Chad. That was really, man, what a W. I know it's early data and blah 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 blah, but just cautious optimism, and it's the first thing, and I'm really looking forward. And Symbiosis, use Chad's code.
Yeah,
Chad's code.
merge it.
Merge
it.
his code.
Merge it.
Merge his code. Yeah,
You
absolutely.
do that, and we'll turn you back on, right? And which I'm sure they want. I've been getting DMs from various wallets or whatever. Like, turn me on. I want on, right?
Let's
for
go.
a dynamic feed model. And I've just been telling them, well, we're slow rolling it. We're testing it out. We're not really ready to just flipping it on for a bunch of different, arbitrarily. So there's things we're looking to test and monitor for, and all these things.
Okay, if they're listening right now, let's say things go well. You've got no more concerns. The data's positive. It looks like it's acting as intended. Would you have a super hard? I know, I get it, but a general timeline of maybe when we start considering adding more teams and integrations and things like that? Maybe you have any sense of that?
Yeah, I mean, it can happen fairly soon. Right now, the biggest holder of that is we want to get the 3.20 out, which has that bug fix, so that when we turn the feature on, it gets turned on actually, rather than it get turned on, but it's not really on until somebody does a trade, which is less than optimal. So we just want to fix that bug, and once that bug is fixed, we can probably turn it on for another. We're collecting what we want to collect from Shapeshift, which is so far going well, as you guys saw earlier. Symbiosis also was going fairly well, it seemed from the data that I saw. Also, but it's not a fair playing field, so we're not putting too much. It's not a good testing ground. It's not fair. And so adding 1 or 2 more, I think, is once 3.20 is adopted and live on the network, I think we can probably do that. And we're looking for somebody that is responsive. They have metrics that they can share with us, so that we can see with like those screenshots that I got from Shapeshift that he gave me, that kind of thing, and make sure that we want to see where we're losing to other providers. Another good test would actually be Kenton, but Kenton doesn't want to do it because in that scenario, naturally because we don't have competition in that scenario, it's pretty much like we get prioritized ourselves. The fee would go from 10 bips, probably something higher. Let's call it 20 bips, most likely, right? Or it could settle in 15. Who knows, depending upon market conditions.
Oh, you're talking about STO, putting dynamic.
Yes,
feed
putting
on-
dynamic feed. Like that would be that's a different case right?
Yeah.
Because Shapeshift, we have a bunch of different providers, and we're competing with a bunch of other providers. You're the opposite side of that spectrum. We don't have any competition. So what is the behavior of the feature when we put it on something that has no competition? In theory, it should go higher than 10 bips if the market is willing to pay higher than, like, if the market says, like, I don't like 11, I'm staying at 10, then it'll probably stay around 10, right? But maybe the market's like, I don't mind 20, right? And if we get to 20 and we have half the amount of trades but double the amount of fees, then I think that would be more or less a canceling out, right? But we want to see the highest revenue, so that we probably wouldn't do that. We'd probably go down to 15 in that scenario, or whatever, right? So STO would be an interesting example to test because it's at the opposite side of what Shapeshift is doing, versus these other people that have been poking me and very excited to get this. I had one even say that if you don't give it to me, I'm just going to use Symbiosis' affiliate name for our trades, right?
Gotta respect the hustle.
Yeah,
Respect that.
and
respect
and
that a
like
lot.
in some sense that's actually kind of a bad thing because it's kind of like muddying the data. Do you know what I mean? But in any case, yeah. So I think we'll probably turn it for a couple more. I would love to. What's optimal from my perspective, ones like that would be the best, is we have 5 or 6 questions we've written down to ask people. But one of the main ones is like, if you get a lot of volume, like Symbiosis gets a lot of volume. They get I think it's like 30 million or 300 million. I can't remember what the number is of volume per month, and we get like 1% of that, right? So there's a lot of opportunity here. There's a lot of upside. Shapeshift is not much upside. We're going from a couple thousand to a few more thousand. That's like, it's good. It proves the point, but it doesn't really move the needle much in terms of the revenue that our protocol is producing. Protocols are wallets that give us very little volume, and they have a lot of volume that we're just not winning due to X, Y, or Z. Those are the ones that are probably the highest value because we have so little at risk, and there's so much upside in terms of like volume and fees and what have you. We just want to make sure that we have good relationships between us and the BD team and whatever the wallet is, so that we can ensure that we're working together. Anybody who tries to use the system to manipulate better pricing for themselves or do some shady ass shit, we want to have good relationships so we know that's not going to happen, right? And if it does, guess what? You get turned off. Fuck off. You had a shot. You were a dick. Now you don't get it. You're no longer competitive with your competitors. In effect, right? So. Yeah, we're gonna be doing it probably soon. I just want to wait for 3.20 to come up before I turn anybody else new
Makes
on.
sense.
And we'll probably put on 1, maybe 2 more. If STO is interested in doing it, I'd be interested to try an STO. And I know Tim's got some hesitation
I'm
around.
against it. Well, I was thinking about it the other day too. I can better define my opposition. It's because dynamic fee, the way you've designed it, is for a platform like Shapeshift, where their only discrimination is price on where they're sending the trade, right?
Mhm.
And every time there's a new trade, they go through the same iteration, right? And that's it. Like the dynamic fee could be higher one day. Oh, we don't get that trade. The next day the fee gets dropped, then we get the trade. And it's just constant, right? And it's instant feedback, and the decision by Shapeshift, how they allocate the trade, doesn't change. That's constant and fixed. But the main thing is the time. It's all happening very quickly. With Shapeshift making the deciding where the trades go and the dynamic fees adjusting. If we apply this to STO, there isn't this automatic trade allocator going looking for the cheapest price. That is a human being who is sitting there looking at Thorchain, and if they see the high price, like, okay, I'm just going to go somewhere else. They're never going to come back to check to see if the price is lower.
Mhm.
We've lost that user for good, or at least for maybe a couple of years. So it's not like humans are constantly checking prices between all these different platforms all the time. They're going to check once, make up their mind, and then go with whatever option they like at the time, and inertia is going to prevent them from looking again. So I
I don't want to, and then in the meantime, we're gouging our existing current loyal users, and in turn, we could even push them away. So I think the cost is way too great to try this on STO versus the benefit. And I actually envision STO being the opposite. We slowly grind the prices lower on it to compete with sexes. Going back to why I think RevShare is going to become the ultimate way partners integrate with us, because we're all going to have to work together to compete against sexes, and we're going to have to compete with them on price. That's one of the things we're going to have to do.
Yeah, of course.
So I can see a lot more damage being done with dynamic fee on STO and us pushing people away and them never coming back. So that's why I don't want to do it, because it's the decision process of allocating a trade in STO it's a human process. It's not a algorithmic, and there's emotions baked into that human decision process.
Yep.
So
it gets even more interesting when you think about agents, right? As a different customer type, because agents have the ability to very quickly look at a bunch of different websites, STO being one of 20, right? Right? Oh yeah, this one's the best, and it's not STO, it's this one over here, and the next day, 20 different things, right? And whereas we're humans, we don't, every time we do a swap, we don't look up 20 different, interfaces and get prices, and we're just not optimal in that kind of way, but agents are. So the behavior is different between agents, and agents are very small today, but I'm sure they're going to be 90% of transactions on crypto are going to be fucking agents, like in a few years. And so that's different, right? It's maybe we have a different strategy.
Yeah.
Right? For agents.
I'd be open to doing that with agents for sure,
Yeah.
just like what you said. And that's something earlier when I was talking about making the website, AI agent ready. I talked to Ivic about this. Okay, well, like STO is for humans. Do we want to make a human interface readable by AI, or do we have a separate, unique interface just for AI that isn't readable by humans? Right? Do we need to go that route?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say separate, and like have like a JSON API, which is very computer readable, not very human readable.
Yeah.
It's just easy to interact. It's easy to navigate. It's easy to separate the data versus like parsing raw text is actually more complicated for an agent to do. So I would say use JSON, and that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, so if we can separate the two like that, then I would be open to the dynamic fee on our agent interface, because it does have that ability to act more algorithmically.
Or we register with what we probably should do is register an X402 on, like, I think Coinbase is the one that runs all the X402 stuff, and so you're creating an API endpoint on the X402 where you get micropayments, for providing the API, which would be more AI friendly by design, to be able to get prices and broadcast transactions and whatever else you gotta do to actually do a swap.
X402?
Yeah, X402. It's a standard. Basically, it's like the very simple way to describe it is anybody can run an API that does anything, right? And it could be like convert inches to centimeters. This is my API endpoint, right? Something stupid. And you can do micropayments, because the 402 number is actually an HTTP code that references a payment. It's rarely used HTTP code, and Coinbase is basically saying we're going to use that 402 HTTP code as a way of doing micropayments in USDC. By the way, I wonder why that would be. To give 0.000015, USDC to this API endpoint. So agents consume API endpoints and pay for what they're consuming along the way. Which, by the way, inherently means you can be more decentralized. Because you can't be decentralized if somebody else is paying the bill to provide the service to you. That's why you pay for gas, and not like, Satoshi doesn't pay for your gas for you. Anyways, that's a different topic.
All right, cool. I'll look into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Denny, I'm good, man.
like you
This
said,
has
it's
been a great
long-
conversation.
Yeah.
This is a great conversation. And welcome back, Chad. And thank you very much for your hard work. And I'm really excited this is rev share, man. I think now, I did not ask a Hugin question, amazingly. I'm not going to do it. We're going to end it with no Hugin question. But I think now the next thing is, what's the rev share doing? What's the analytics say this Thursday? I think this is going to be a common question because, and I think Kent's going to want to know too, man. So, hey, good job. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Talk to you later.
Okay. Oh, hang around for just a little bit, guys. We're gonna finish up the show there. Always remember, guys, for ThorChain data and insights, please follow at Ray Analytics on X. He does written recaps on these podcasts too. And always remember, guys, these views are expressed are solely of the host and guests. Any action taken based on this information is at your own risk. Past performance is not indicative of future results. And the ThorChain community does not endorse or condone illicit activity of any kind whatsoever. This Saturday, guy, we're going to be talking with Daniel Pirate Chain. Arr, that's literally the token. Arr, I'm not joking about that. I cannot wait to have a conversation with them. Super cool community. So don't miss that. And of course, next Thursday, we're gonna wonder what those rev share revenues are gonna be. So holy
dynamic
crap, you
fee.
guthis. Don't miss it. Dynamic V. I'm so sorry. I apologize. I misspoke. But anyway,
both.
guys, I hope you had a great show. I guess, right? This is a great show, guys. Have a great rest of the weekend. We'll see you guys Saturday. Bye, everyone. Take care.